when a teacher who had about 20 different types of rubrics was having problems. So what I just came in here is I just did Canvas upload rubric. And this gentleman who wrote this page is absolutely amazing. He does this quite often. Let's see, here's the import tool. Oh, sorry, wrong one. It was the next one down. It's the importing rubrics from a spreadsheet. This guy wrote an amazing documentation. So in here, he explains how you can use an Excel spreadsheet to create your rubric. You can also tie it to outcomes if you want to. So as you're building this, let's see if I can go ahead and pull up my, if I've got some of them here on my computer here real quick. Okay, where's that one here? So I'm going to pop over to my class. We got one man who's a Jordan fan. So let me come over here. So here's my rubric class that I have. So dental hygiene, they had a system in place to where as a group, what they wanted to do was have a rubric that they could use across all of their 10 courses and everything stayed consistent. So they worked together creating these Excel spreadsheets that we could just suck in. So I wrote this page right here that kind of takes all the tools and the steps that you have to do it. But I'll come down here to the files. And I'm just going to grab this rubrics discussion that they have here. It's very basic with what they wanted to do, but I just wanted to kind of show you as an example and stuff like that. So from here, you could go ahead and let's go ahead and open this up. Come on, let's download it. So you could add any type of discussion topics you want to in here and extra points. And then once you import this Excel spreadsheet, come over here to the rubric. So that's the discussion one. They were able to fill in all these forms right from an Excel spreadsheet and work on it as a team. That would allow them to go ahead and take this Excel sheet. I would then send it out to a text file, which I would go ahead and import. And in his documentation down here, at the very bottom is a thing called Tamper Monkey that you have to install. So that's right here. And what happens is once you install this into your either your Chrome or Firefox, it adds this little tool right up here. And I apologize, my screen is a little small, but the Tamper Monkey, what this does is allows me to run the script and enable it. And then like, here's my import rubric up here. Oh, come on, get out of here, go away. I just take the code in here and I paste it in here for going ahead and importing the rubric. I mean, I could go into more detail if you want me to, but I'm not sure if like somebody else has come up with another question or something like that. So like I said, is all I did was a search for import rubric from spreadsheet. And this saved one gentleman a week's worth of time because he was able to take all of his old rubrics that he used from another college when he came over and he quickly imported them all into Canvas. Any input on that? Anybody have anything to say? Come on, let's have some engaging conversation here. Crystal, any input? I know your husband's very technical.
True. I would probably definitely experiment with this to see what we can do with it. Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll take, I don't know, do very many of you know what the Canvas Commons is? So I'll go ahead and I'll take this home page right here. That is something kind of basic that I wrote for the dental hygiene folks on how to use this tool. And I'll take this page and I'll put it out to Canvas Commons. And I'll just call it, I'll go ahead and I'll just name it something like Canvas, it's, Canvas import rubrics via spreadsheet. So that way you can kind of find it if you want to. That way you'll have this if you ever want to import it into your own master type shell if you wanted to. Okay. So anybody come up with questions they have with Canvas? Let me pop.
Sure.
Okay, what you got, Lynn?
Yeah, I don't know which one to, I just want to see what the interest is before I commit to anything. Has anybody developed any tricks? I'm always looking for more. Amy knows this, for pimping out Canvas. And by pimping out, I mean really making it a much more attractive, pleasant visual experience. That's one of the questions I have. Has anybody done, like I pimp out my dashboards, I pimp out my pages, things like that, with really creative stuff. Is anybody, including HTML, has anybody done anything like that?
Do you want to share one of yours? I'll go ahead and stop sharing and show kind of what your screen looks like.
Oh, okay. So for example, every week I change my dashboard. When the student logs in to the dashboard, I'm disabled from sharing, Amy.
Sorry, give me 1 second. I don't
No
know,
problem.
maybe sharing privileges. We have it locked down to avoid like Zoom bombing situations. So give me 1
Never
second.
had that happen. Anybody had any Zoom bombing ever?
We did last year with ELCC.
Oh,
So-
weird.
Yep, in a session, and somebody came in and just started like yelling like racist things.
Oh, that's
And
weird.
it's hard to know because like they might use like just a regular name like John Smith, and you're like, oh, I guess that could be somebody normal, and then you let them in, and yeah.
There
Anyway.
you go.
So this year we've done it a little bit different. We've made it more secure. But sorry, I'm looking
You're
for your
still doing
name.
that. Anyway, so let me go on with my other questions, see what the interest was. So I don't want to commit unless there's enough to talking about that at all, unless other people have some ideas or have that need. So the first question was, does anybody have any experience with pimping out their Canvas? And that would be either on dashboards, pages, or HTML. And then my other question was, does anybody else like me use collectors for student response, both in print and HTML? And the other one was, I developed a unique strategy called Digital Canary, and was wondering if, that might be of interest to somebody. But anyway, those are my three things.
I've
One is-
never heard of the term digital canary.
You mentioned
Yeah,
that
so-
in I think my session or I've
Yeah,
heard this earlier this week. So
Yeah.
I would love to hear about that.
Okay.
But I'd also like to hear about what you've been doing to pretty up Canvas.
Now,
Okay.
I do know we have quite a few teachers that have used Soft Chalk within their class, which is a, of course, it's a, third-party vendor, but it's more of doing HTML pages, and then they can actually set up their quizzes and interaction type stuff a little bit more. So Soft Chalk might be something to look into possibly,
Okay.
because it's a little bit more of
I'll
a.
write that down. Okay, I got one screen sharing thanks to Super Amy. We can actually do this here. So one way that I pimp out my courses, and you can all see, this is just where the student goes in and sees the dashboard. And they might have all their courses from left to right. And I pimp out all my dashboards with different pictures every week that fit the theme or fit the course. And so here's a couple courses coming. One's pimped out with the zombie apocalypse picture. It takes a special kind of picture to do this. This course is the next one being offered. That's next semester. But we have a superhero theme. So every week we have different representatives of superheroes, that appear. So when the students log in, they see all these vanilla courses that are in front of them, and then they see something that's really fun.
Now,
Does
are you
anybody
using,
else-
are
I
you
wanna know,
using,
does anybody else do this with your dashboard before I talk about those other things? Does anybody else do that?
are you using
Crystal?
Photoshop to do your tiles?
No. Just pull them straight off of Creative Commons or other places that I have them stored.
Lynn, I do that for my courses. I try to put attractive, what are those things called? Pictures and fun, different stuff that's not necessarily academic. So, it's a little more relatable.
Yes.
So
It
I
connects
know,
with-
okay, so I do know the pixel ratio for the tiles for Canvas for the best size are supposed to be 262 pixels by 146 pixels high. That's the size of the icon. There is a tool out there if you need a good photo editing program. Let me grab the name here real quick.
And by the way, has anybody, while you're pulling that up, has anybody tried that with GIF? I haven't tried it with GIF yet.
I have not. Has anybody else?
You're talking about for the course cards, Lynn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. Oh, there's one right there, whoever is sharing this.
Oh, okay. That's good to know, everybody.
Yeah,
So,
you can, yeah, when you go to actually change that card, that's where you can add it. I think there's a GIF option. I haven't
Good.
done it in a while.
I didn't know that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, but I have
That's what I'm at in
like
search
that.
of. Secrets like that.
Mm-hmm.
now,
So I
if-
wanted
Improve
to-
Canvas.
I wanted to give caution, and that is one thing that we learned from our students when we interviewed them after spring 2020 and remote and everything, is that a lot of them use the list view. And so they don't, well, I don't have any right now, but the list view doesn't show the cards. And so it's just something to be aware of that,
Mhm.
that, they might not see that at all. They're only looking for their due date activity stuff.
Now, I'm not sure if very many of you use Blueprint courses, but quite often, like one communications teacher we have, she uses Blueprint courses. So of course, that icon is going to be the same all across all of them. So what she does whenever she has those, share the screen again here real quick. I'll go back to my dashboard. So let's say these three icons are all the exact same class. What she would do is she would change with a green overcast over the photo image. Whenever she had her first class, her middle class would have a yellow cast over the photo, and then her last one would be a red one. That way she would know I'm starting my morning, this is my afternoon class, and this is my third class. So if these were pictures, you could go ahead and have like the overlay cast on them, if that makes sense. One program that I found that's an online imaging editing program that, I swear it's a Photoshop copy, but it's called Photopea, PHOTOPEA.com. So if you need, like, let's say yep, there we go. I was just getting ready to type that in. Let's say you like I have Photoshop at work, but my laptop, I really don't want to load Photoshop because it's a huge program and I don't have a big enough hard drive. I'll just use Photopea to upload my image. I can edit it and change it just like Photoshop on my desk at home. And then I can upload, like I said, that new tile and everything like that for Canvas. Hopefully that's one good tool other people like. GIMP, yep. Now, doesn't GIMP, Crystal, make you install it? It's an install, isn't it?
It's been so long since I started using it that I don't remember, so it might be.
Yeah, GIMP is an alternative to Photoshop that's free. Yes, it's a download. It works on Mac, PC, and also Linux. So that's a good one. Okay, another one I like, and like I said, anybody else who has another tool, please speak up, because I want to kind of bounce. We at our campus, campus, we do this for 2 hours every Friday, where we'll have people who pop in and just sit and have a cup of coffee and listen. We'll have other people who just come in to ask a question. They save it up during the week. It's just kind of an open session of people, hey, like with Lynn, hey, this is something I do, let's see if as a community we can fix it. So please speak up if you have other ideas. But we have the whiteboard in Zoom is limited. It works okay. I have one called, it's called openboard.org that we got approved through our campus, and I like it a lot. So I'll just go ahead and open it up here. It's openboard.org. It's a free install. It actually is from Germany, but let me see if I've got it installed on here. There's my OpenBoard app. Bring it over here to the other screen. Actually, I'll share my other screen. So I'm sure we've all used whiteboard software, whether or not you've had a desktop version where you had a monitor at your school or whatever. The hardest part about those bigger companies is every time that they had an update, the school had to pay more money to be able to have a whiteboard software to be able to use with a touch screen and stuff like that. This OpenBoard software is very easy to use. We have multiple colors across the top. I have different thicknesses of line, and I have different circles. So I can change it to green with a big line, and I can go ahead and draw on here. So the cool thing about this is if you're doing like a Zoom session, whenever I'm all done, like I can do extra pages, I can change the background, I can get rid of this so it's on white. I can add additional pages if I want to. When I'm all done, I can save this as a PDF, and I can send this and attach it into my class if I want to. But while I'm doing my recording, everything is going to be right there. So if I was a math teacher, I could have some things prepped and ready to go if I wanted to. And then that way I could go ahead and move through my slides quite rapidly. So the openboard.org has been a great money saver, and it works really seamlessly with your computer. Has anybody else used this? Does anybody else have a whiteboard that they like?
When you're done, I'd like to jump in on my second pimping question.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, people can make comments in the chat and I'll grab them too, because there's a lot of good comment. There's really good comments going into chat right now. Yeah, Jamboard, for example, that Julie just said is exquisite. Let's see. The other part of pimping is I try to find anybody or anywhere that's got interesting code that we can plug into HTML to jazz up the Canvas screens. So for example, what I mean by that, I'll share my screen, is little HTML tidbits this is what HTML right down here is what it looks like.
Right.
And it produces something like this in your course, which is instead of just the ordinary text environment. And I collect them. So like I've been running this collection document here. This one will put modules down at the end of the bottom of, reminding students to go to the modules on every page. So I don't have to hand type that in every time. This one creates a very interesting pop-up side thought menu or a key point or key vocabulary pop-up that's really effective. That one creates a shaded box. That one creates multiple instruction tabs. So it's like puts tabs right on any page in Canvas, just puts tabs right there, boom, 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 and the students could click through them. So it's a lot more interactive than just scrolling down. And that was one of my favorite ones. And it's a little funky with adding graphics to it, but I do that. So putting that in there is another example. That's a long one. And it really adds something very unique to Canvas. My question is this. Let me turn off the sharing. My question for the whole group, and I got to pull up my chat so I can read any comments, or just come online. Does anybody else have any HTML tidbits like this that you've used that are really really cool. It really jazz up your course. And if so, do you want to trade? I'll trade mine for yours, or yours for mine.
I'm just trying to look on the web here real quick.
The only one I've done is using images to float right or left, which I saw in your document.
Yes, I didn't
So-
cover all of them.
Yeah, but yeah, I would definitely love to experiment with that.
Okay, so here's what somebody says, like Julie asked again, Tracy's, right? Tracy's. And so we got some of those from your training program, Amy, and I've been stealing them from everywhere else, but UC Denver. So I can't make the document file transfer work right now because I'm just short on time and I have to leave a little earlier today. But if you'll send me an email requesting my HTML tips, you can take all of those and put your own content in there and just try it on a dummy page on your pages page in Canvas tab, your pages tab in Canvas. You can try them all out. They really work. And then I'd like to trade with anybody. Okay. You just email me because that's the only way, because I'm in Dallas and I'm headed to San Antonio in about 30 minutes. And so I'm not going to be able to respond for a couple of days probably.
I just found this webpage here real quick that has some coding.
Thank you,
and stuff
David.
like that. That's the greatest thing about HTML. It's all about sharing and caring with one
I'm gonna
another.
add,
Now, I
That's
don't know if
my-
everybody, Lynn, are you still sharing here? I'm sorry, I popped out. Here, I'll go ahead. If
No, I'm not.
anybody
I'm not.
has never played around with HTML coding, they've actually moved it and kind of changed the way it looks. So just to show you. Because quite often I have teachers who ask, what the heck is the HTML coding and what is it? So to get to it, I have to click on edit. And right down here, it's this little bracket with the back thing. When I click here, this is the way I get to the back coding now. It used to be a button up in the navigation
Yeah,
bar, but they
They
moved
changed it.
so just in case anybody was wondering how to get to the code now, it's right there. Oh, and the one other crazy thing a lot of people ask, and at first, Canvas changed it to where they removed the student view that was here and it's right up here now with the eyeglasses. But for some reason here, just like about a month ago, they removed the student view out of here on the right-hand side. So I had one teacher that always came here to look for the student view, and then they were confused that it was gone this quarter. So it's always now, this is the only spot where it's at now, is up there at the home at the top part. So hopefully that's something that's helpful.
Surprise.
It's like when they move all the cheese section at Costco, you know, it's just like, stop it.
Who moved my cheese?
Exactly.
I just had a question if there's anybody in the room that deals with Articulate Storyline and Canvas.
That was going to be my next question too. I'm glad you brought that up.
I'm living in a hellish nightmare of HTML where everything I do as I bring it in, I have a lovely wrapper around all of my storyline stuff, and it just makes it really, really small, and it hurts my soul because of all the work that you go into doing something, and then it's like microscopically small.
Can you share now you're inputting the code like I just showed you, where you click on there and then you bring the code in, right?
It's basically what I'm doing is I'm swarming it out. So it's something to do with the HTML. I've spoken to people at Canvas. I've spoken to people at Articulate, and it's like the two don't want to take responsibility, but I'm sure it's some line in the HTML, but it really substantially reduces the size of what I'm putting into Canvas. Now, the only workaround is you can put something in and launch it outside of Canvas where it just is its own tab. But on many occasions, we want to contain it and keep everything within the course. It's not launching them. It's not opening up another tab.
So when you're doing an LT, I'm guessing you're using an LTI, correct?
Yep.
So I'm guessing it's probably like Panopto, where if you bring the Panopto in, it's in the box, right?
Well, I can give you a quick screen share. It's just incredibly frustrating because
So
It's,
Karen, is this what you're talking about where when you bring over your articulate, it comes into this little,
no, I've had the opposite problem. So we've had both. We've had where it is gigantic and you have to scroll. And now we've got it where it will open in the window, but it is ridiculously small.
okay, I'm gonna stop sharing so you can share.
Because Jackie, yours look, Jackie is, I've never used Articulate, so that's awesome that we have others here. So I'm guessing that Jackie, you've actually used it before, and that is coming from Articulate, what you just showed, right?
So
Right, that's my test course for, because we're moving all of our stuff from Genius SIS to Canvas Catalog and using Canvas as our platform. So
Okay.
I'm moving everything over. So that's my test course to move so that I can test all of Articulate's various features so that I make sure that they're coming over correctly and that they're recording correctly.
are you guys able to see this? It's just my little Snagit screen.
Yes.
So I just, in preparation for this, I just pulled a quick image to show what it looks like on my Canvas page. So this essentially is my window of where all I have to work, but I've got it just makes it so small. So when I click on my tabs and there's interaction here, it's like very small, super tiny.
Got a question for you. Have you ever tried to go into HTML, which
Well-
sets up the parameters for what you see on the screen there, and try to
The-
change those so the size is bigger? And
The
see if
issue
any of that
is-
would work,
the
either on
issue
the
is-
internal box or the external box?
I've not had like point by point directions. Like every time I call and try to speak to someone, no one can tell me exactly where to go in the code because these are really large scormed out files.
Story of our lives, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks
so
like
it's-
the LTI looks like it's bringing it into a window rather than a page type of view.
Mhm. So I bring it in as an assignment in Canvas. And it's a scormed out Articulate file. So it lives there. The only workaround is if when I scorm it out, if I launch it outside in an outside tab. And then it's full and rich and beautiful. But on the back end, when you have the powers that be say, no, we want to keep it within, we don't want them launching outside of Canvas, that's when it becomes an issue.
So
Yeah.
I import mine as a page and then assign it under assignments in the files area so that it picks it up as complete or incomplete. And that's how I'm getting mine to launch a little bit bigger.
And is it a
Yeah, that'd do it.
Articulate file?
Yes.
So how do you put it on the page? So, because I'm putting it, technically it is a page, like I've got it on a page and I'm just giving it, I'm bringing it in as an ungraded assignment.
Okay, so, oops, cancel that. So when I'm bringing mine in, I'm bringing them over as,
So I'm thinking you're importing it into the class completely instead of using SCORM, correct?
No, I'm using Scorm.
You are?
Scorm.
yeah, I am too. So when I bring it in, I'm bringing it over as, can I not see this? Okay.
Because I see you don't even have a Scorm option.
Yeah, but I do, which is kind of weird. I'm wondering, where did it go?
If you click on navigation at the top,
There it is.
I like your clean navigation design.
Yeah, I delete just about everything that I'm not using. Yeah, so I'm bringing them over as SCORM and as a graded assignment.
Mhm.
And then I'm just marking it as complete or incomplete. So that way they have to go through the SCORM in order to get to the next section.
Yeah, so how so my issue is, I mean, we've tried this every way to Sunday. I've done graded, I've done ungraded, and it doesn't change. I've had the blow up where it blows it up and you have to scroll. I just want it to open as it should in the space that's given. That I want to eliminate that picture frame.
Can you go to that Bronco Learn 5, that 1.5 test you were just showing? Because I think when you showed your page earlier, it didn't have the full navigation on the page when we were looking at it.
Let's go.
That could be any
to-
one of them. Any one of the pages. Because Karen, it almost looks like. So when she brings her SCORM in, you notice it doesn't have the 3 hamburgers up in the upper left-hand corner, which is like the full navigation.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if you're bringing in a full section into one page, and then they have that navigation that they can use, where with hers, it's an actual individual page.
Well, what I'm looking at right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jackie, this is Rise.
Yes, this is Rise.
course. So I'm looking for Storyline.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Storyline is just so messy.
I hear you. It's where I live though. They, you know, it is what it is, and it's not going away anytime soon. I personally love Rise. I'm in the middle of 2 Rise courses now, but this has been an ongoing issue, and I totally understand with the like you said, with the 3 hamburgers, we have to keep that up for compliance. So we have the ability to being able to read the transcript of what all is being said. But I've done it without, and it still is small. It's almost like a placeholder. It's just holding it super tiny. But I'd love to get it end to end. This gives me hope for when I need to bring a Rise course in. But you know what, the downside with bringing a Rise course in and forming it out like that is then you don't have that interaction. So the cool thing about Rise is you can look at it on a tablet or a phone or a ginormous monitor like I do, and then your dreams aren't dashed when you're looking at it on a phone. It's very responsive on the phone. So when it's formed out internally like this, it stays there. So if I had one of my participants looking at it on a phone, they'd have some trouble with this.
See, and that's odd because I haven't had any trouble with, because the Rise stuff is supposed to be able to be viewed on any device.
Correct.
And
so when you SCORM it and keep it within the parameters of Canvas, so if it doesn't launch out of Canvas into its own browser, you lose the responsiveness.
I'm gonna have to test that. That's a
Yeah.
top tip. Thank you.
I'm in the middle of it. That's the only reason I don't know much, but once in a while I know what I'm talking about, and I'm just in the middle of it right now because it was the debating between, do we keep it in Canvas or do we launch it out in another tab? And the only way, and that's the other way to keep the ability to come back. We have rather long courses, so like I can put things together that are well over an hour, different segments. A total course could end up being an 8-hour course, and we want to have the ability for them to come back, especially in Rise, and be able to remember where they are. When you SCORM it out and launch it in an outside tab, it will keep your place. If you don't, you won't. And I learned
Okay.
the hard way.
Yep, I'm gonna
like
definitely
to-
have
Okay,
to
when you-
check that.
when you're done. See, I would like to show, I have an example of one of those pop-up HTML commands so everybody can see what that particular thing does. You could free up, was it freed up already?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And I
well, got
also
a
think
couple-
part of
and
the-
a question for you. So here's the, let's see, which one do I want? Yeah, the pop-up. Okay, so I'm gonna do that one first. Okay, so this is just a page that outlines a activity that they do. And here's an example of pop-up. That's that HTML code I gave you earlier. The question I have, however, now is a different one entirely. There's a new feature that pulled up inside of Canvas. I've seen it here and there. I'm wondering if anybody else knows where else this is. But this is a discussion, it's a special area where students find partners to work with on a specific mission or project, little mini project. And when you set that up, I noticed just this semester, it's enabled me to add this as a student to do. And that wasn't there before last semester. So now, and if I put in a date time, it makes it so that it appears on the student's dashboard as something to do. So this is new. So I was wondering, has anybody else seen this particular command resource anywhere else? I don't know, I'll quit sharing and.
Chris,
That is
where
definitely
else
in
does it appear?
response to massive number of requests to add a second due date to discussions, which that kind of functions that way. Yeah.
so that's their workaround for saying you could add make sure your discussion's posted by this date and then you're okay.
Has anybody else seen that appear anywhere else? I see it in discussions, but I'm wondering where else it is. I think it's in assignments.
It's in Pages.
It's in Pages now?
Yep,
It's
Diane
been in
just
Pages
mentioned
for a
that.
while. Yeah. I thought of another, I mean, it's completely different, but I thought of something else that we taught our faculty during the remote stuff. And that is using the calendar to set up signups for students to,
Okay.
oral quizzes or whatever they might want to do. You just go to your calendar page and one of the options, I can share my screen. One of the options is under the plus sign here, appointment group. And so if I say oral quizzes and select the calendar, I'm going to do it in my demo course. And then my date range and my time. You have to make sure to do PM or not, or AM. So if I have 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock on this date, divide into equal slots of say 15 minutes and then go. And now it fills all those out. I can limit the participants and choose the other options there, write some details, sign up for your quiz and then publish. And it's a nice way to manage your calendar.
This is great for office hours also.
Mhm.
And type of stuff to go ahead and have it out there on the calendar. Then it kind of makes it kind of pointed out to them. And Karen, and I think part of the issue with your things opening it in the box is Canvas only makes such a big box for items to be imported into it via an LTI or SCORM or whatever. So they've got to take that content and fit it into their little box is kind of where we're at. So, I mean, until Canvas changes that a little bit, that might kind of stick there.
Thank you. Thanks for the update. I'm
That-
holding my
that-
breath. One day.
Yeah, to do that where. Is anybody using Panopto for their lecture capture? No,
We are.
you are?
Mhm.
So one thing that we've come across is because when we talk to teachers, we often talk about when you're doing your lectures to go ahead and keep your lectures fresh and new. But if you're going to do a lecture on a particular topic to create, and if somebody else has a more important question, please pop it out because I know we only have about 8 more minutes. But we had a math teacher who took a sabbatical for a year. And so part of her project was working on, let me grab this here. We often have teachers create what they call master Panopto courses. This is where they're going to hold their main videos and stuff like that they do. So like, see if I can find the one from Meg Bartrand here real quick. Apologize. The power of being an admin. We can be them. So she has this Junk Master Panopto that she created, where she does all of her Panoptos at. And she separated them out into folders for each one of her subjects. So we have all these different folders across the top. Underneath the share section, what she's done is she's created this to anyone at our organization with the link. So she can now come into any one of these videos, click on share. She can either grab the URL or she can grab the embed code. And when she embeds that into her class, every quarter when she copies it, this little, short 4-minute video will work, and it's on a particular topic. So I don't know if that's kind of helpful to anybody at all. All right, cool, Julie. So I work at Columbia Basin College in Eastern Washington. My email is, as you can see, my name is David Spiel, is dspiel@columbiabasin.edu. I'm not going to say I'm the all know of anything, but I'm always willing to help anybody, just like everybody else has done in here today. So if you have a question, you can always throw it at me. And you also have your Canvas contacts also. So thank you for coming. If you have more questions, we have more time. We can do more. Anybody else have questions?
Has anybody been using the H5P to create anything in courses?
Actually, that's the first time I've ever heard of that terminology. H5P. Anybody?
Hi, this is Nadia. I have been using some experimenting right now with those, but we don't have an integration into Canvas now. So we use just some of those activities.
And have you had good response rates with them?
In terms of the students, you mean, or how faculty use that?
Let's go both.
For example, I work with instructors that teach languages, and those courses need activities that are interactive for listening, for speaking, and we're testing some of those tools that we have in H5P. It seems that it's a very good option for what we have right now. But as I said, it's not integration with the gradebook in Canvas. So we're still trying to figure out what to do with those. What I personally don't like about H5P is that you cannot customize its color. So it's always going to be this standard gray, white, and the typical blue that we have for the color on the web. But I think that in terms of interactivity and what you can have hotspots in images, drag and drop, I think that faculty like those. And the students, I don't have data from the students, but at least it gives the students some interactive activities to practice the language skills.
Thank you, Nadia. Because that's the reason that I went with Articulate Rise, because it was more interactive than the average Joe. But I've also been looking at the H5P and was just interested if people had used it. But it sounds like you're having some good traction with it. So thank you for sharing.
Have you
Yeah,
also
thank
looked at
you.
SoftChalk at all?
I think
No.
SoftChalk is licensed, and at least in Oregon State, we don't use that for the courses that we design.
Okay. I'll have to read up more on that. Thank you for sharing that page. It's always kind of cool to learn new things. That's where, so many teachers go out and find these tools that are specific to their tools. So it's so neat to, when you're sharing like this, that you can come up with different ideas and different tools that other people use, kind of thing.
Yeah, if someone is interested in exploring more about H5P, let me know. I will join your efforts because, as I said, I'm in the early stages of exploration. And so far, some of the activities have worked well, but we're still exploring others because we're using a free version of H5P and we don't have all the capabilities of the paid and licensed version.
Right.
Yeah, Nadia, I would love to continue your efforts with you. Like I said, I'm pretty new to it as well. And I've been dinking around, but haven't really built anything. So I put my email in the chat. If you want to continue working together on that, I would like that very much.
Absolutely, Jackie, got your email and I put mine there as well.
So I just finished moderating a session that was about H5P, see if I could talk or not. Anyway, so we ended a little early, so I thought I'd drop into here. And so there will be a recording of that, as well as putting the resources up on the Discord channel, and we'll probably have them up somewhere else later. So if you're interested in H5P, there's that. It gives kind of a basic overview and talks about some of the options for hosting and so on and so forth.
If they do licensing, was it very expensive, Jerry, or did they even mention that?
H5P?
Yeah.
I was kind of busy letting people in and stuff, but there are different ways doing it. Idaho State, which is where the presenter was from, just implemented Pressbooks, and so with Pressbooks you can integrate it all. And then there's, H5P, I think, as was sort of mentioned, is if you do it on their site, they're trying to discourage people from leaving stuff there and linking to it. So they have a limited question set and so on and so forth, and they get rid of stuff and things like that. But there's different options. You can do self-hosting. There's some other options that are available too. So I could get the link to the presentation. I'll get the link to the presentation posted to chat here.
Right. Well, we'll have that soon. So hopefully we answered some questions, and it was nice bouncing things off one another. And enjoy the rest of the conference as well.